In the movie Rat Race, there's a scene where Cuba Gooding Jr. goes to a bar and he asks the bartender for a drink. And he goes, excuse me, miss? Bartender turns around and he goes, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry. I thought you were a woman. And he's kind of trying to laugh it off. And the bartender says, I am a woman. Well, that might seem like something that wouldn't happen so much in the year 2025. There's chatter online that some job seekers are literally changing their names or their genders on LinkedIn and on their applications to appear more male or just less feminine in order to increase their engagement and their chances of being hired for roles. So that's what I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about today on the next. All right, so we're talking about making believe that we're somebody else in order to increase our chances of landing a job. So there was a recent audit here. I thought it was September that I read. Anyhow, there's this place called ARXIV. I might be saying that wildly wrong, but anyway, there's supposed to be an external fairness evaluation of LinkedIn talent search, but shows that there are some demographic disparities and underrepresentation of folks of minority, gender, or race groups in top search results. That doesn't mean very much here, but the punchline is I've been seeing some posts, like a lot of posts over the last couple of days here about women who have changed their gender on LinkedIn to male and that they're getting more engagement, that they're getting more hits as they are searching for jobs, and maybe they're even getting more engagement on the posts that they're making. So there are some other pieces here too, but really this is wild. Obviously, it's rough out there. The idea that the system is skewed against women is even rougher because this doesn't make any sense, right? Like, you hire people based on whether or not they're able to do the job, full stop. We all know that, but guess who doesn't know that? Robots. Robots can be programmed, or they can come to conclusions depending on how they're programmed that might introduce bias that perhaps wasn't even intentional in the first place, or maybe it was based on the person who programmed it. So I'm not going to get into a whole Skynet thing today. Maybe I will a little bit, but punchline is outsourcing all of this to robots is probably causing some issues here, because if you can make changes that the robots say, hey, we like that, and you get yourself a better chance, what kind of position does that put everybody else in? I mean, number one, it's categorically messed up, right? That you should have to pretend to be somebody that you're not just because that is the only way to try and get recognized for the value that you're able to add. Ouch. That's a mess. The other piece is, well, shoot, if some people start figuring it out and they're able to use it to get a job, that's a mess, right? But what about everybody who doesn't realize that you can press this magic button and change your gender and you improve your chances? Oof. So the whole thing is a mess. And here we are again with a system that is broken, that people are trying to find ways around that may or may not work, but it's only going to benefit those few people who figure out how it works. It does not solve the systemic problem that the job market, the hiring system is pretty much broken across the board. So there were some interesting comments on here about this. People were asking about it, but there were more. Now, again, this is all anecdotal, but there's a lot of chatter about this, so I'm interested in learning more. But some folks were switching to a more masculine version of their name, even got them more interviews. Some people talked about how they had some other issues with this, but anyway, it's neither here nor there. The punchline is, this is a mess. This is really broken, right? The idea that you have to maneuver around all this stuff, and now there's this whole new layer of frustration that you have to deal with just to try and find a job is even more maddening than anything we've dealt with so far. So when people have to mask who they are to compete, when people have to look a certain way and try and show up that way just to get somebody to notice them, that's a failing on the part of whoever is doing the hiring. The idea that we have to show up inauthentically to get the work doesn't bode well for our prospects once we're actually in the job, because, well, if we start a relationship based on a lie, don't we have to keep it up so that we'll continue to be able to benefit from whatever it is we've gained from it? Maybe not. But the other piece, and this is the most important thing, the system doesn't get fixed. It is not better for everybody. It's not more equal for everybody, because just because you figure out a way to manipulate the system and it works out for you, there's still tons of people out there who aren't able to do that, right? Who are still dealing with this broken system that they can't manipulate. So this whole idea of turning this into a game of how can I make myself the most algorithm friendly, middle of the road, clickable persona makes it more damaging for everybody else too, because it's hard enough when you're searching for work. I've talked to a lot of people about this. It's hard enough to maintain hope, to be your authentic self, to think about what excites you about work, because you're just trying to pay the bills, which isn't always working out either for a lot of folks. So you're dealing with all this stuff. Now you also have to create or curate this identity of whoever it is that would be ideal for this job, just in order to try and get somebody to notice you. So thinking about all that, how do we fix it? Well, it's really rough, right? For folks who are looking for work, the cards are all held by the people who are using these systems that are potentially biased against you to get a chance to prove that you're able to do the work. Ouch. I'm going to advocate for it anyway, right? Be radically, authentically yourself. There is a post out there right now, or there are a number of posts out there that toilet humor is the way to go on LinkedIn, and they're getting tons of engagement. I mean, I don't know how well this bodes for working for a company. We're still pretty tight when it comes to corporate America, but being authentically yourself is a big deal, and you can do it in a way that doesn't require toilet humor, but that you can feel good about. What are some words that you say all the time? Ask your friends. What are some catchphrases you use? I didn't realize that this was a thing until a friend somebody I'd worked with had said, okay, they were just waiting. We don't see each other in person very often, for me to say, and the punchline is, because apparently I say that quite a bit. So put that into the post that you're making. Put it into the cover letters that you're writing. Put it into the things that you're doing. This is not going to be anything that you don't know, but as you're doing that, build a network. There are a lot of folks who are in the same boat as you are. You're not always going to be in this position, right? Where you're trying to find work. You know people who are doing work in a place that you might actually fit in really well. Reach out. You don't have to reach out and ask people for jobs, but reach out and say, hey, here's what's going on with me. Ask with genuine interest what's going on with them. You've got your job search done. You're trying to deal with things like getting real connection with people is valuable all the time. And nowhere is it more important than when you are feeling unbelievably lonely and like things are never going to work out. Having other people to talk to lifts your spirits big time. So if you can do this in person, that's best. If you can do it over a Zoom or a video format, that's second best. If you can do it over the phone, that's third best. And text does work. It's just not as good as those other ways. But build a network. Have a call. Your intent is, they ask you, you've seen these, right? Like, oh, hey, let's set up 10 minutes for a call. Let's hop on a quick call, whatever else. Don't be like that. Hey, let's take 15 minutes out. I'd love to find out what's going really well with you. Maybe share a little bit about what I've going on and just see if I can find a way to make your day better. That's it. 15 minutes, that's all I'm asking for, whatever else. So obviously it depends on what your connection is to that person. If you're getting a hold of somebody who knows you pretty well, this is going to be a little bit easier. If it's somebody you don't know, you're really reaching out pie in the sky like, hey, I'm really interested in the type of work that you do. Say you find somebody who's doing your ideal job. Probably not going to lead to anything for work, but it could, right? Hey, I hate this term, right? Reaching out. Hey, I I noticed that you do XYZ. I would love to do that kind of work. Could I bug you for 20 minutes to learn about what you love most about your work and just find out a little bit more about what it's like? It'll just be 20 minutes and that's it. If they're in your town, hey, I'll buy you coffee, whatever else. If you can't buy them coffee, you'd love to meet up at a park or something like that. Like if you tell them that you're not employed and that you really like to just learn more about them, odds are people will want to help you. But this is the way that one of the ways that networks are built. LinkedIn is huge. You're already there. Go do it. You can find folks on Facebook too. Folks who work at places are on Facebook as well. This last part is going to be kind of rough because enough of us yelling can make a difference. Maybe online, probably not as much, but use your voice. Share what's going on. If you have been a victim of some kind of discrimination, talk about it. Raise the issue publicly. You've got LinkedIn. There's podcasts. I would be glad to talk with you if you want to join me on the show. I want to hear more about what's going on and what your real life experiences are. And I'm not the only one. So let more people understand how the system is skewed and how much of a mess things are specifically. This is what went wrong. This is what I did. This is how I know for sure. Because then we've actually got a chance of things changing. If we can call out specifically, this is what's going on. Hey, I applied for this job 5 times. I changed my name, applied with this other email address, and boom, I got it that time. Hey, your experiences are your experiences. We don't have to draw any conclusions from them necessarily, but talking about what's really happened for you is valuable. So, to close this thing up, this isn't about blaming individuals for trying to work a system to get what they need, right? Like everybody who's looking for work is trying to figure this thing out. It's about recognizing that a system that forces people to change who they are or to make it look like they're different than they are just to get an opportunity is miserably broken, and we shouldn't stand for this. We should do whatever we can to make it change. I'm doing that through bringing awareness through this show, but there's all kinds of things that you can do. Make your posts, talk about what's really going on, call out publicly folks who are making these things happen. It's worth it to do, hard as it might be. If enough of us do it, it'll make a difference. Encourage honesty in the things that you're doing. If you've do everything the right way, even though it's hard, and talk about what's going on. This is it. So talk about what you've done, the struggles that you've had, and also what needs to change. Those things will make a difference. So rehumanizing LinkedIn's got this to some degree, but rehumanizing job seeking, the job market is what is going to make the difference between what we're dealing with now, where people have to change their gender just to potentially get a shot at something, and a system where people are actually judged based on their individual merits, their ability to do the work outside of anything else. That is what we're after, right? The ideal is you are judged based on whether you're able to do the job and how well you're able to do the job. And that's it. No other factor. That's what it needs to come back to. That's what we're after. So I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this. I love your comments, so share anything that you've got about this. If you feel that this would be helpful for somebody else that you know, please share it with them. It would mean a whole awful lot. And thank you so much for tuning in to the next. I'll see you next time.